Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish.
Today we're talking about, this little hinge thing, okay, just kind of a setup. All week long, it's been, what are the little hinges that have moved the needle in my life? I've been using myself as an example because I am, first of all, on the same quest. You know, we're all on the same path, aren't we? Aren't we? Aren't we all on the same path of saying, I want a vibrant life? Isn't that what we want? Isn't that how we're all on this path together? And I don't want this carousel of crazy crap of going up and down with my weight and around, getting fed up, getting discouraged, getting frustrated, losing weight, putting it back on, losing it again, putting it back on, finding a new diet guru, finding a new diet. That's the carousel of crazy. And it's insanity, complete and utter insanity. We know that. And when we give up the carousel of crazy and decide that we are opting out of the diet culture, and instead we're going to rely on science and what science tells us about what foods do to our bodies, because we understand finally that food is information for our bodily function. Period. That's it. So food, as we know, it doesn't give a rip-stomping, rippity-dop boop. There you go. That's a new word I just made up. It doesn't care what you think about it. Doesn't. Food is there to do one of two things. It's either to help your body, give your body the information that it needs in order to heal, to nourish, etc., 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 or it's going to take that food and it's going to inflame the living daylights out of you, set you up for chronic conditions if you don't already have it, or add to them and keep going. Because food is never neutral, ever, no such thing. And you can just bet your bottom dollar that when you are eating an enormously processed diet, eating any kind of fast food, or even going out to restaurants, for heaven's sakes, you know, that's getting into sketchy territory. Because remember, what is a restaurant there to do? To make a dollar. How do they do that? By getting their food costs down and their prices up. So what happens when, you just follow the logic, and you're going to figure out in a red hot hurry that they're not going to be exactly going out and looking for fresh pressed olive oil club for their olive oil, right? They're not looking for food for information. They're looking for food for cheap. Any restaurant, any of them do. I hate to say that, because I have been to every restaurant, you name it. I've been to the worst of the worst, food truck city, and, burgers, and I've done fast food and all of them, given up years ago, all of that, to middle of the road, mom and pop diner, to, farm to table. It doesn't matter. I've seen it all. I've worked in the restaurant industry, and I know this for a fact. So we need to know this. When we go out, we are sacrificing that one thing. There will be something inflammatory on your plate. I don't care if it's farm to table. I don't. Because they're going to have a bad oil in there. They're going to have something in there that isn't up to your standards. End of lecture. Okay. So what it is what we're talking about today is this fact that every single day we're faced with making one decision after the other decision after the other decision. Now, you can call it a choice. You can call it whatever you want to make. But when we understand that our choices are actually micro decisions on how our life is going to progress, and if we look at these decisions and these choices the same way that our body looks at food, is it information or is it inflammatory? Then things start to really shift and change. Big time. Big time. Trisha says, even when you get a salad, bring your Sprint dressing. Amen. 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 Once upon a time, I used to get sick eating salads in restaurants, and I gave that up a long time ago. And it was from some preservative crap that they used to put on it. I don't think they do that anymore, but once upon a time they did. And I also had a lot of really bad experiences eating. Do you remember anybody from Southern California, El Torito? We used to go there. Oh, God, I used to love it. They had the best chicken salad. Found a piece of cardboard in there, found a great big huge bug, a great big huge piece of glass. No kidding, this big, right? A big cockroach. And that was 3 times. I tried 3 times. And the hair, ew. At that point, I was like, never again. And I knew exactly what was going on because I have this big injury on my finger that you probably can't see from almost cutting my finger off on prepping lettuce in the back of the house. El Torito's still here. I still loved it. I mean, I loved it, but I will never order another salad from El Torito. I'll never order another salad anywhere, because it's usually, they just don't clean it the way you are going to clean it. They get big boxes of lettuce in there. And guess how cockroaches travel? Boxes of produce. That's how they get into restaurants. Yeah. So icky, yucky, no thank you. Stay the heck away. Stay the heck away. Cooked food only. Salads are nasty business outside. And I make a gorgeous, incredible salad. Right now we're on this huge salad kick of arugula, the baby sweet peppers, those little peppers. Like, I love bell peppers, but I don't like the skin. I know, just weird. But the little ones I love, with cucumber, a grated carrot. We put all the things, a little toasted pine nuts in it, all the things. And it's a fabulous salad with all the stuff. So when we go out, which is infrequent, I am not ordering a salad. Thank you very much. I will order the entree and a vegetable. We're good. We're good to go. But you know what that is? It's a decision. It's an informed decision. It's intelligent thinking making your decisions for you. Because how often are we allowing unintelligent thinking to make our decisions for us? Our unintelligent thinking is our inner, but I like that, but I want that, but I'd rather have French fries over the broccoli. Well, come on. Who doesn't want that? There are people who, to a degree, get themselves to the place of, where they're just like, oh gosh, no, I'd never eat a French fry ever again. Yuck, disgusting. And probably we could get ourselves to that place. Maybe if I worked on it really hard, I could get myself to that place knowing what the heck they're cooked in. Sure. But who doesn't love a French fry? But does the French fry love you back? The answer to that is absolutely no. And every single day, every single plate, every time you open up the cupboard, every time you make a decision, a new tab on your computer, we are making decisions every single day. We're making choices every single day. And those micro decisions, the little tiniest of things, like staying up maybe a little bit later, all of that influences the quality of our life. We can't say that it doesn't. We can't opt out of it. We can't even go to the place of making a non-decision and just saying, well, I'm just not, whatever, because our indecision is a decision. To not weigh in, to not have a voice, to not be the hinge, the little hinge of that decision in our lives. I'm talking about this because when I finally started to realize that saying just this once was one of the why I went up and down and up and down, back up to over 200 pounds, down, back up to over 200 pounds, down, back up to over 200 pounds. Just this once. It was a micro decision that I made about just one thing, but it ate and eroded away at the quality of the life that I wanted. And then I met this guy, David Bear, and David is a friend as well. And I was in his mastermind, and he talked about the quality of our decisions and how every single decision that we make in our lives, every single choice that we make in our lives is something that we need to weigh and measure on how it's going to influence us into the future, how it's going to influence the way we think, the people around us, and every single thing that we're about to do. That's what he said. And for whatever reason, that was the cosmic 2x4 that I needed to stop playing around with fire, to stop messing around and pretending as if it just didn't matter just this once. Because just this once really did matter. Because just this once put me on a trajectory of where I didn't want to go. Because of making a decision like that was making a decision not to take back my life, but instead to give a little piece of it away to inflammation, to having the life that I didn't want, to once again being back in my closet going, oh, I don't have anything to wear. Everything's too tight. You hear me? This is why we have to look at why our choices are really decisions. And even a micro decision is important because it decides and changes and turns the direction of your life, even just a little bit. It all matters though. Every single thing matters. We think about airplanes. You know, if you have an airplane going from New York to Los Angeles, the whatever the radar thingy is, you know, the transponder or whatever, it's constantly correcting the direction, because if they just put it on autopilot and let it go, it would land in San Francisco or north of that. That's how incredibly important decisions and constant correction is. And I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as, and you hear this all the time, oh, I was so bad. I ate all this, you know, blah, blah, but I'm being good. I'm on plan now. And I hate all of that. You know why? Because it's not being on plan. It's being on top of your life. It's making a decision that I'm going to have food that fuels my life, that fuels my vitality and my healthiness, my vibrancy, and all of it. That is a decision. It's not whether you're off or on. It's whether you're making a decision for yourself or you're making a decision against yourself. You see the difference? And when we start to look at things from that perspective, we see things in a completely different light. We see things in the way of, is this going to build me up or is this going to tear me down? Have you put this together? Does this resonate with anyone? Is anybody feeling this stirring in their heart about this? I hope so. Because, you know, it's all micro decisions all day long. Am I going to eat this broccoli or am I going to eat these French fries? Am I going to exercise or am I going to sit on the couch? What am I going to make for dinner? What am I going to wear? All these things. These are decisions that we make every single freaking day. And our intelligent decisions, I told you about this book a couple of times, right? The Power of Decision. It's dry as toast to read, dry as a bone to read. And some of it's kind of like, oh man, this is like woo-woo done bad, right? But then there's some that it's a wallop upside the head like this. Let me read it to you. Unintelligent functioning in human consciousness produces wrong results and wrong decisions. As a result of these wrong decisions, people limit themselves with sickness, financial strain, family quarrels, and frustration, all of which are unnecessary, and all of which is based on poor decisions. Poor decisions, a bad choice, something that we didn't think of. And, you know, we've talked about knee-jerk decisions before. We've talked about things, you know, trying to kind of sort of do things. But we can't not have a voice in our life. We can't opt out of making decisions. We have to be firm about the direction that we need to go in order to get the things that we want. You know, yeah, sometimes it's tough. And it's like, oh, shoot, you know, I'm trying to change this up. I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. And it takes a minute. Oh my gosh, it takes a minute. But when you get it, you get it. When it clicks in, it clicks in. And this is one of the things that helped click these things in. It got me off the carousel of crazy of food addiction, for heaven's sakes, because food addiction is when we play with fire all the time. Just this once. You know that. Just this once. Just this one bag of M&Ms. Just this once. And we do it in secret, and we do it in, by ourselves, and we cry doing it, don't we? And then we're ashamed of ourselves and we hide it. That's all based on poor decision-making, unintelligent decision-making, really, because unintelligent decision-making is, I don't think that this matters. And it all does. It all does. Because here's the thing, we're not going to do it all perfectly. And that's not what this is about. This is not a rallying cry for perfect, but it is a rallying cry for excellence and for putting your focus on the things that matter and for not opting out by making non-decisions and by using your voice and by understanding that decision making is a daily thing. Every single choice, every single time. And that you, as this wonderful, beautiful apple of God's eye, have that absolute privilege and opportunity to exercise your sovereignty into saying yes or no to it. You do. And that should make you feel very powerful. That's right. Neil Maxwell, don't give up what you want for what you want most for what you want now. I do believe that's in our quote deck, isn't it, Juanita? So good. But this is the whole thing. This is what the whole thing is. We have to make these choices every single day. We don't get to opt out of decision making for one day. We don't. There's some decision to be made every single day, isn't there? You made a decision to go get a dog, Leanne. So buck up and go get up and deal with your puppy. That's the way it works. You made a decision to have kids. So buck up and go be a parent. You made a decision to be married. So go buck up and be a spouse, and create and build and do the things that make your relationship better, that make your relationship better with food, that make your relationship better with your dog, that make the relationship better with your home. Do those things. Those are intelligent decisions based on intelligent thinking. What do you want? You want a beautiful home? Well, it's not going to get there if you've got stacks of magazines on either side of the door as you walk in. That was my mother-in-law's house, beautiful $1 million home, in Southern California. And we had to declutter. And I had to fight this woman. She was practically holding on to my ankles. I was tossing stuff in the dumpster. And I was just like, no, we're done here. We're doing this. This is how it works. So we have to look at this, that what are decisions anyway? They come with a benefit and they also come with a consequence. Every single one does. So unpacking a decision. So here's an example. When you have a decision, like let's go with broccoli versus French fries. So the benefit of caving to the French fry is that yum, yum, that is delicious. And boy, did I enjoy that. The consequence is, boy, oh boy, do I wish I had not done that. I've been hanging here. I've been staying in the program. It's been Hot Milk 30. I've been on top of it. Now, ouch, that hurts. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Well, we did it because we thought just this once isn't going to be a problem. As you're on your way back over to 200 pounds and over, that's what I'm talking about, because we pave our path of vibrancy with our decisions. It's all paved. Every single decision has created that path. Every single decision is going to help you to build or take down your bridge. Because remember, we've all got gaps from here to there. All of us. You might be here right now and you might be working to here and you might have a small gap. You might have a huge gap. But you know what? When you stop, when you make the decision, when you decide that your decisions are going to be intelligent based on the things that you want, based on your goals, based on everything else, you stop getting out of alignment. It's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it anymore. Terry says, just this once is a very slippery slope. I've lived on that slippery slope. And let me just tell you something. You can't live on a slippery slope. You think you can, but you can't. Slippery slopes are no place to put a foundation. Have you noticed? It'll just slide right on down. It won't. You've got to do a lot of things in order to create a place to live on a slippery slope. It doesn't work. So we got to look at all this. Every single decision has a benefit, and it also has a consequence. The benefit for taking the broccoli is, you've made a good decision. You've given your body information instead of inflammation. That's it. Those are the two choices, right? So that's the benefit. The consequence is you said no to the French fries, but then that turns out to be a benefit. So when you're looking at things, it's kind of like a math problem. The plus, plus a negative, or plus a plus, what's going to end up at the end of being of most benefit? Well, we already know that. So we know that we know you can't opt out of decision making. You just can't. You can't. It's absolutely impossible. A non-decision is a decision not to make a decision. A non-decision is a decision not to use your voice. A non-decision is a way of abdicating the sovereignty that you have in your life to someone else, a circumstance, or anything else. How scary is that? To give that away? I did that to a bag of M&Ms for years. That was my drug of choice, by the way, peanut M&Ms. Big bags, not little, those little wimpy ones. That's an appetizer. I was going for the full meal, in my car, eating them till the little shards, those sugar shards, just cut the heck out of the roof of my mouth. And most of the time I ended up crying because I was stuffing my feelings, stuffing all of it, trying to get it all worked out. And the moment of reckoning for me was recognizing and seeing that bag of M&Ms is never going to give me back what I need, ever. That bag of M&Ms hold the keys to nothing. That bag of M&Ms held me hostage. That bag of M&Ms was sugar, and it created an addiction. And that bag of M&Ms took all my power away from me. Oh, wow. That's a cosmic 2x4. And that was a decision that I made to stop it. It just wasn't worth it anymore. It wasn't worth it anymore. I read something right around that same time. Come on, this is insane. And it was some, nutritionist to the stars kind of said, and he said, thin tastes better. And while I don't line up with that kind of thinking because I don't like to whatever, but I look at it and I just think healthy tastes better. A good decision tastes better. Getting away from addiction tastes better. All of it does. It tastes good. It feels good to make a good decision. And all of these bad decisions, they add to the frustration level. They add to the anxiety level. They add to just this constant carousel of crazy, because you might have opted out and said, I don't want this anymore, but keep kind of putting a toe on the carousel and just saying a little bit here or a little bit there. Oh, Carol, honey, I get you. I get you so much. See, they didn't have the almond ones when I was around them, thank God. But, we're always in this place, aren't we? We're always in this place of having to make a decision. And so many times we don't really think about what the decision is, what the choice is, or how it's going to affect us. And that is what this is all about. That is what we're talking about. Now, Colin Powell. So, and I want to say one more thing. So, one more thing. If you accept, your non-decisions become indecisive, and you become indecisive, you're indecisive about that, weak-willed, unwilling to take responsibility. That's what basically not making a decision is saying about you. Weak-willed, I'm unwilling to take responsibility. Well, if I don't do it, then I can deflect to somebody else. It's a character flaw, and it doesn't bode well. We need to stand up for ourselves. We need to stand up and take back the sovereignty of our lives and not abdicate it to whatever. Come on. We're intelligent, wise women, right? Colin Powell says you need at least 40% of the information you're likely to get to make a good decision and to make a good decision, you don't need more than 70%. And you know why he's saying this? He's saying, yes, go ahead. gather your information. And we all need to do that. I'm not advocating for a minute that you just start making your decisions and say, whatever will be, will be. I'm making a decision. But I am saying get your information, but don't go bonkers on all of your research. I know what you do. I'm doing all my research. I'm doing all of this. Research is terrific. Go directly to the source. Stop reading all the articles and start looking it up, like on PubMed or wherever it is that you need to do. Ask good people, ask experts. But, if you just keep gathering information, what does that lead to? Analysis paralysis. You don't make a decision, you don't do anything, and that's inaction, and that's defaulting again to this whole indecision, which is a decision. I'm just going to gather more information. So Colin Powell says, once you get to that 70% mark, now I want you to understand, who's Colin Powell, right? Attorney General, right? Wasn't he Attorney General? Yes, Attorney General. He was also, he's also a man. He's also in the very high parts of government. And he said at that point, at 70%, I knew that I had enough information and I knew I could rely on my intuition. He said that. A man said that, of all things. And this is what I'm talking about. We have the ability inside of us to listen to our guts, because I told you it was the second brain. And someday I'm going to pull out that webinar and do it again, because your gut is extraordinary. You just really need to understand how beautiful. I mean, we are so magnificently and wondrously made. It's just amazing how our bodies work. That gut feeling that you have is actually your second brain thinking and letting you know. That isn't it so funny how that happens? But that's our intuition too, working and letting us know, hey, a good decision, or, you might want to think twice about that one. Maybe not. Yeah. So what he says is if it's less than 40% information, you're guessing. That's not a good informed decision. If it's more than 70%, you got all that information, you're stalling. And that is a good thing. And I'm talking about this as far as like big decisions. Should I do X? Should I do Y? Now, I will tell you, in all my years doing the nutritional coaching and things, I've talked to women who've had lots of different surgeries for weight loss, because there's tons of them. There's sleeves and all kinds of different things. And I'm going to tell you what that I found so interesting. Asking questions about it, a lot of them hadn't done their own research. They just took a pamphlet from the doctor and said, quick fix, I'm in. Having somebody cut them open, take out most of their stomach and create this itsy bitsy pouch. And even with the statistics that showed that statistically they're going to gain that weight back and stretch that stomach out anyway and go right back to where they were or whatever. And this is not a put down. This is just what the facts say. But somebody who goes in and makes a decision on something like that, you should have about 70% or more, information. You shouldn't go off of just what your doctor says and here's your pamphlet ever. That's a huge decision. So when I'm saying all of this, that we have micro decisions every day, we also have massive decisions every day. And that's where I'm saying, take out the Colin Powell test, right? 40%, you don't have enough information and you're just guessing. 70%, you've got enough information. Now you're stalling. Okay? Easy, right? So anyway, this is, and I'm going long here. I'm sorry about this, but I just think that this is such an important thing. So there's several things that you can do to kind of hone in on your own decision making and really get into the place of feeling good about your decisions. The first one that you can do is make a not to do list, because here's a couple of things that we have. A lot of times we get in the mire of the little teensy weensy details of too much stuff to do. We get caught in all the things to do. And I think oftentimes what we need to do is we need to take a look at all of that. What's it all, I don't have time, so I can't is a big excuse. Well, is this true? Or do we need to take a look and see there's a lot of things here you really don't have to do? That's something that you need to be looking at. Number 2, get some standardized checklists for your life. Are you making lunches every day for the kids? Put that on your standardized checklist. Do you have a standardized grocery list for the different grocery stores that you maybe shop at? I do. I've got one for Costco, I've got one for Trader Joe's, and I've got one for General Grocery, because there's certain things that I buy every single day, every single week. And so it's there so I don't forget it. And sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. But it's there and it's standardized so I don't have to always reinvent the wheel. This helps you from mental fatigue. It makes it fantastic. And when it comes to food choices, and if you heard our food addiction webinar, then mental fatigue is a real thing. When we go back and forth and we're in, we're out, we're sort of, maybe, kind of. And what we need to do is give ourselves always and never and always accept this rules. There's 3 rules, okay? Real quickly. I always have a mindful mug before a meal. That would be an always rule, because what does that do? It triggers a lot of good behavior. It triggers thinking about your plate. It triggers the way your plate is going to be set up, right? And by the way, all of our tools, and I'm also going to show you something really cool with our quote deck. This is going to help you to make really good decisions. So I love that. I think that's really helpful, helping you to set up with an always rule. A never rule is I never eat dessert, ever. If you say that, I never eat dessert, except when, or you could say I never eat cake, except at weddings and my birthday. Maybe you say that, or I never eat cake except on my birthday. And then you have an accept rule so that you can do it with a clear head. And then when you go to the wedding and you're just like, no, thank you. It's easy to make that choice because that decision's already been made. You see what I'm saying? And then the other things that you need to do to stop making poor decisions or having unintelligent thinking around a decision is this couple of things. One is to stop dismissing these micro decisions, these micro choices that you're making as just this once, and it's not a big deal, and I'm just going to give myself a grace, and I'm not going to beat myself up. And I get that. I'm not asking you to beat yourself up. I'm not asking you to not give yourself grace, but I'm going to ask you to stop giving yourself such a pass. Because what we're doing here is we're doing great here, everything's going great. Then all of a sudden it's like, boom, we're opting out. And now we're out, we're on this destructive path, and someone's got to reel you in, someone's got to reel you in. You need to, oh, for heaven's sakes, go away. Let's see. Let's hang up on that person. There you go. Sorry about that. So those are things we have to do. All of us do. Every single time we need to start making really wise micro decisions, choices, because those are indeed decisions. Number 2 is remember that non-decisions are actually decisions. It's opting out of your life. It's opting out of the sovereignty of your life. It's saying, I don't have a voice willingly. And it's also saying, you're basically weaseling out, just saying, I just don't know. That's nonsense. Of course you do. Check in with yourself. Decline. Gosh, darn it. Hey, want to buy some insurance? That's probably what it is. Unintelligent thinking is always wrapped up in indecision. I just want you to think about that. And it's in this book. It's in this book, The Power of Decision. And it goes through talking about this unintelligent thinking. And it always circles itself back to indecision or, knee-jerk decisions that just don't support the life that you want to live. Number 4 is stop making decisions by crowdsourcing. When it comes to your life and big decisions, you need to check in with yourself first. You need to check in with the closest people that matter to you, who will be affected by this decision. And then you need to check in with God. You need to journal about this and check in with yourself. Because I'm telling you, you have a gut that is going to inform you that you're on the right path or not. The only reason that you haven't heard from your gut is because you stopped listening a long time ago. So check back in with yourself. Will you do that for me? Check back in with yourself and start trusting yourself, because your higher self knows. Your higher self is in touch with God. all the time. That's how you get back to your beautiful self. And then we'll talk about that on Saturday, because your beautiful self that's who you are. It's not just this human bodysuit package, in the smaller jeans. It's not that. Who you are is right in here, your beautiful self. If you put your hand on your heart, you actually will give yourself a little shot of oxytocin. It's like a self-hug. How about that? Now that's a good decision right there. Peace be with you. I appreciate you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.